Hi everybody, Elaine Vincent here, Chief Administrative Officer for the Town of Okotoks today. And today I am pleased to have with me
Bernice Gordon, Corporate Planning Specialist for the Town of Okotoks.
So you've been here just about coming up on your 2-year anniversary.
Yes.
And what was the big job you were hired to do?
Well, you know, help everybody. We always have those strategic plans that say, this is where we want to go. And so the corporate business plan helps us to show how we're going to get there.
So you've been working on the corporate business plan. It's been a 2-year project.
Mm-hmm.
So do we have our first corporate business plan?
Yes, we do. Council passed our first corporate business plan in late February this year.
Excellent. So if I'm a staff member, why is the corporate business plan important to me?
Well, what the corporate business plan says is how everybody is going to be working together to achieve the changes we want to see in the town in the next 4 years for council, and that 60-year vision for the municipal development plan. So it's special initiatives and projects, and it helps us to understand what we're supposed to actually achieve, and it helps us with some transparency and accountability for the outside community. They understand what we're going to actually achieve.
So you answered to my next question, which was why is the corporate business plan important for the community?
Well, I think that one of the biggest ones is that they see here's this and here's a lot of work that they do, but they don't necessarily understand the complexity and all the different businesses that run here and how everything has to come together. And you know, if we're just doing a road out there, a road project out there, it's not just engineering, it's transportation, it's a lot of other business centers that are involved. Parks is involved, you know, we make sure that events knows, and everybody is in on the planning and making sure it executes well and it works out well for the community.
So this is the first corporate business plan for the Town of Okotoks?
This is the first corporate business plan that has been approved by the council for the town.
Okay. So I wanted just to use that as a bridge to the number one question that I get from staff. Mm-hmm. And the number one conversation I have with staff is we have too much to do and we don't know what a priority is.
Right.
Does the corporate business plan help with that?
Absolutely. It does help with that. It says here are the top things that we need to do and when we are planning to do them by. And we consider things, the whole team comes together and considers every year what might be adjusting on a year-by-year basis so that we don't have too many things happening at the same time. It also allows everybody to know what's happening in other business centers.
So when we were on a journey a couple of years ago, the language that we were using was about shared accountability. Mm-hmm. So it was about being able to understand the impact actions that I took had on another area so that we could have conversations about that ahead of time. Is that a main output of the corporate business plan as well?
Yes, it is. We have a yearly business planning session where everybody understands what's going on and who they need support from. And those support people can then help to plan theirs so that we don't plan too much in any one area. So it is about understanding what is the support that's needed and then having that discussion as a group to say what are the priorities and where do we need to make sure that resources are used.
So can you build a bridge for me, Bernice, talking about, okay, so we made it through. We got our first corporate business plan done, but now we're moving into something else. What is that and how does that impact staff?
So we're moving into the next step, which is having a 5-year business plan for every business center area. And what this allows us to do is say we all then have all the information about what we're supporting in the coming years, what we're working on, what is our priorities, but it also says this is what we want to achieve as a business center, and then how does it align to what we're trying to achieve overall for the town and the corporate business plan and those strategic plans themselves.
And I think one of the other big changes has been that we're now actually measuring, monitoring, and reporting on our core service levels. Talk a little bit about that if you can.
Well, that's about success. What does success look like? So, you know, sometimes when we say, hey, this is what we want to achieve something, and you think that if I go 25 miles, that's great, but somebody else thought we were going to go 23. And then we didn't get there, right? So there's a discussion about that. So by those agreed upon measures, it says this is what change will look like, or how success will look like. What is it that we have to do to actually get there? And so that we all have the same focus and the same vision as to what it actually will look like. You know, so yes, we can say, hey, the town is going to look like this in 60 years, or that's what we think it's going to look like in 60 years.
Yeah, for me, one of the key pieces it does is it forms an accountability agreement. So when I look at the corporate business plan, it's council's commitment to the community about what's going to be accomplished. It's my commitment to the organization about what the priorities are, and it's our commitment to putting the resources to those priorities. And then it allows us to have the conversation if we can't achieve those priorities, because guaranteed something magical will fly in and we have to do something different. Share your thoughts with me on that.
Well, that's part of what, even with the measures, it also comes into that, because sometimes what we think we can achieve is not possible. We are, you know, contrary sometimes to popular belief, we're very, very positive on how much we can achieve in a very short time. And it's tried and true in the industry that sometimes we, you know, just like taking that, we have too big a stomachs for the plates we have, right?
Absolutely.
So we sometimes take on too much. And so we're just monitoring that to make sure that, hey, how is this working? You know what, this isn't, we need to switch up, make changes, and this must be, we may have to change and choose only a couple priorities rather than 3 or 4. It's just like planning a vacation. Sometimes we can't get to all the things we want to achieve, but so we sometimes have to skip a couple of things in that 2-week span that we've got.
Thanks, Bernice. I think the piece I want to really focus in on a little bit is what this means to me as an employee, because we have very different and unique employment opportunities at the town. We've got people who are in operations, who are out of the office working in the community 9 to 5, 8 to 4, 7 to 3:30, whatever that looks like. And then we have people who are, I would say, more involved in the corporate business plan. Why does the corporate business plan matter to an employee?
Well, the corporate business plan says this is what my area is helping to work on in the coming months. This is where we're going. This is what we're going to be trying to achieve. And that's why it matters to them. So their business center areas are involved in many things, but at least, and they can see a direct line of sight how they connect to those goals and those opportunities that are, you know, that we're coming up with, where we're moving to in the future.
This is really helpful, Bernice. The last piece that really links to that for me is, what is the difference between the corporate business plan and the strategic plan? Because a lot of our employees don't see themselves in the strategic plan, but should see themselves in the corporate business plan. Can you explain that bit?
Well, a strategic business plan really is about, it's a vision, right? Just as I mentioned, when we go on a vacation, we want to have a beautiful vacation on the beach. But there's not a lot of detail. There's not a lot of detail on how we're going to achieve it and what we're going to do. So the corporate business plan really links the two together. It says, this is what we're trying to achieve, this is what it should look like when we get there, and this is how we're going to actually do it. So it kind of pieces everything together.
What, why, and how. Thank you, Bernice. I think she's given a really good example of what the corporate business plan is, why it's important, and how we're going to achieve council's objectives that they have for the organization. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.